things, global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to Global Happenings Today YouTube channel. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been in detention for many days, weeks, months now. But he has decided to speak to Nigerians, and he decided to talk about the issue of the agitation. In fact, he has decided to mention the solution that will possibly look at a lot of things, not necessarily ending the agitation, but bringing peace and succor to every part of Nigeria. These are the conditions he's telling federal government now in Tinubu-led government, because Buhari was the time he got in. Tinubu now is the one that is leading and is giving these conditions to him. But before we go into the news proper, kindly subscribe to our channel by clicking on the red subscribe button. Beside it, you see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. Now, the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has listed the building of a functional international airport, seaport, and good road network in the southeast zone as conditions for lasting reconciliation to be achieved in Nigeria. Sounds nice. Now, he also listed the infrastructure that were not negotiable conditions to bring the long abandoned zone up to speed with other regions. The Kanu, who made his stand known through his younger brother Prince Emmanuel Kanu, who visited him in DSS detention, said his position on the Nigerian project remained unchanged. He said his brother was not opposed to genuine restructuring. He wasn't opposed to it, but that Nigeria should be totally restructured along the 1963 constitution if proponents of the restructuring are sincere. He was quoted as blaming those who aborted his next meeting with Igbo leaders scheduled for September 15, 2017 in Enugu. For the current chaos in the south is arguing that if his house had not been invaded a day before the meeting, perhaps the outcome of the meeting would have been discussed. The issues following the agitation for Biafra among pro-Biafran agitators' demands are, and I quote them, he said, "My position has remained unchanged for very many years, regardless of my unjust and unfair incarceration. Our demand for a referendum to determine whether our people will choose to remain in the country that has so unkindly treated us for decades remains our goal, unless those opposing the wholesome restructuring of the country repent. We are resolute because the oppressor leaves us no choice. Since the 1980s and 1990s, every plea to return the country to the 1963 constitution has sadly fallen on deaf ears, leaving us no choice but to find any avenue that would generate a safe future and better tomorrow for our unborn grandchildren. We have no regrets whatsoever about articulating a better future for our progeny." Now, being mocked consistently over our earlier demand for an early return to true federalism and devolution of powers, we saw we had no other choice than to work towards a referendum to determine our future. Our decision and preference for our own country, where our children will be fairly treated, is a result of the unacceptable, unabating mistreatment since 1966. First, the horrendous pogroms, then the war, the deliberate disempowerment after the war, which is the 20 pounds offer, the scorching earth policy, and war of attrition viciously visited on our region ever since. The deliberate denial of critical federal government-driven basic infrastructure, such as a functional commercial seaport, railways, international airports with cargo wing, dry port, container terminal, greater electricity generation, export-free zone, and the east-west railway and road network that will help our people feel like being truly part of the country, confirms our second-class status, which we reject. The unkind marginalization we have suffered as a region since 1970 is only possible because of the centralized structure enabled by the unitary 1999 Constitution. We remain committed to our demand for a referendum as long as those totally opposed to the restructuring of the country along the lines of true federalism and power devolution continue to resist the cry for a new, fair, just and equitable constitution along the lines of the 1963 Republican Constitution. We will be betraying our people and selling away their future if we continue to wobble along in this unhelpful 1999 unitary constitution designed, written, and given by unelected soldiers. I led marches in the United Kingdom pleading for a consensual restructuring of the country via a constitutional conference and the enthronement of a new people's constitution all through the 1990s. We are mocked and ridiculed consistently by a small clique of compatriots who claimed they were born to rule. Their stiff opposition to a peaceful restructuring of the country made the agitation inevitable. They are simply telling us to go to hell and do your worst. At a meeting with the Southeast governors on the 30th of August 2017, I pleaded with the governors to plead with Mr. President to begin the early restructuring of the country along the lines of true federalism and devolution of power back to the 1963 Constitution. I also pleaded for affirmative action to expedite immediate construction of the earlier mentioned deliberation denied infrastructure in our region. The response was a vicious military attack to violently eliminate me on the 14th of September 2017, a day before a follow-up concluding meeting. We are not averse to the genuine restructuring of the country. We know that the country cannot grow or make progress under the current unworking unitary structure. The facts are clear for all to see. Our position remains the same as our submission in the presence of Professor Ben Nwabweze and the evangelist Elliot Ugochukwu Ugo on the 30th August 2017 at the meeting with the Southeast governors at Enugu. We have no reason to add or subtract from our position 6 years ago. Those who disputed the 2017 peace process only engineered and activated the unpleasant experiences of the past 3 years. Had they allowed the second meeting of September 15, 2017 to hold, a meaningful outcome would have been long achieved. The unprovoked invasion of my family homestand on September 14, 2017, which led to the untimely death of thousands of citizens and inspired the demise of my parents, created the unsavory atmosphere that engulfed the region moving forward. Finally, we reiterate that we are not opposed to consensual but wholesome restructuring of the country along the 1963 Constitution, establishment of long-denied critical infrastructure in our region, commercial seaport, international airport with cargo wing, rail services, and other deliberately denied infrastructure. Those determined to read fellow citizens as donkey or ride fellow citizens as donkey should understand that their refusal to treat every region fairly is at the root of our agitation for justice and equity. The people of the region desire to be treated fairly and treated right. We stand by our demand for justice, equity, and fairness for all. This is our position. This is coming from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in detention of the DSS via his brother Prince, when he made it open for all Nigerians to say, this is what we want. We are not opposed to restructuring, but this must be done. And this was what he said he started in 2017. And up till now, they're still at it. Then it's up to Nigerians to decide, is this what for Southeasterners to decide and Nigerians to see, was he correct all along, or was it just being smart by half? In all sincerity, all what he's saying now, I think the Northerners are already screaming, they don't want CBN to go to Lagos, they don't want FAM to go to Lagos. That's the same thing Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is saying then, that the Southeastern region have been marginalized, cut off from critical situations or critical infrastructure. Are those infrastructure he mentioned, are they now in existence in Southeast? Let's interact now.